Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacqueline. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter. Get the value you need and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacqueline at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Caroline Heward and our show today is Talking Heads. I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is compassion fatigue in relationships, and it's part of the Mind and Body Connection series. So let's begin. I love to start my presentations with a quote. And today, for the first time, I believe ever, I'm using a medical definition. And I felt that it was really important to get very specific about really defining what compassion fatigue is all about. So the sign to the left is the caduceus sign, which is known as the regular medical design and sign and logo. Also, this logo, this symbol is also the Kundalini symbol of the two snakes intertwining and meeting at the middle. So compassion fatigue, the medical definition. The physical and mental exhaustion and emotional withdrawal experienced by those that care for sick or traumatized people over an extended period of time. Let me repeat that because it's quite specific. The physical and mental exhaustion and emotional withdrawal experienced by those that care for sick or traumatized people over an extended period of time. So this is what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on people in relationships looking after, caring for traumatized people that are sick, traumatized over an extended period of time. I'd like to look at what compassion is, because that's absolutely fundamentally underpinning our fatigue in relationships. So when we think of compassion, we think about the emotional sensitivity to others. We think about the sympathy, the connection that we share with everything around us and other people. It's about our feelings. It's about showing empathy, really connecting with the person from an empathic level. It has an intelligence of care. It has an intelligence of heart. Compassion is in the heart chakra. And when you feel compassion for yourself, for others, it moves you into a place of service, not only to yourself, and obviously compassion has to come from yourself first to be able to offer that and to be able to recognize it in giving it to others. We start with self-compassion. It's a feeling of listening. That listening when we listen to ourselves on every level, on a level of emotion, on a level of physical connection, mental connection, behavioural connection, the physiology connection. It's almost like, especially when you're in relationships, in your family, siblings, or in an intimate relationship, sometimes we know what somebody's thinking in that relationship, and we know what they're feeling without them even expressing it in words. So that is an emotional, somatic, compassionate connection. This is where we become extraordinarily aware. Let me say that again. This is where we become extraordinarily aware of the other person's needs, the other person's requirements, and the other person's defining what they are about. And when we feel compassionate, we feel a level of love. It might even, for some people, be a level of duty to ourselves and to others. It's a very beautiful space to be, to feel compassion, to feel an unrequitable love for ourselves and for everything else around us. This is where people can come into their own and want to create things like world peace, which is a huge, hairy goal. That is one of my goals. And it almost seems incomprehensible for one person to create that. But what about if that feeling is so deep, that commitment to that goal is so deep in your heart that everything moves you towards that goal? Compassion is very much practiced by the Tibetan Buddhist monks. This is the whole revelation of where they work from. They're working from heart consciousness, from a place of compassion for everything, everyone, every situation, all sentient beings. We are all connected through the heart. Even our world has a heart connection. I'd like to further give another quote, which is a little bit more grounded in terms of the person in the situation. This quote's by Rachel Remen. The expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic. Let me say that again. And not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet. I love that because it so describes what happens to us when we immerse ourselves in the suffering of an individual that's in our lives, that's important to us. Let me say it again. The expectation that we can be immersed in suffering and loss daily and not be touched by it is as unrealistic as expecting to be able to walk through water without getting wet. Rachel Remen. Thank you, Rachel. I couldn't have painted a better picture about what we're going to cover today. Compassion fatigue can come in all sorts of guises, and it can come through the fact that we are caring for someone that's close to us. It may be a sibling, it may be a parent, it may be a son or a daughter. It could be the person that you are married to, your partner, a spouse. It could even be the person that you are in an intimate relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be somebody that you're living with, a friend. Mental illness is real. Mental illness affects so many people, especially in our change times. There are many, many people that are struggling with mental health issues. So how does it look? It can appear from the person that is suffering with mental health issues as a depression or a sadness or a loneliness. It can appear as a pain, as a worriedness, as being emotionally burdensome to the people that are around them. It can look like grief. It can look like a lot of pain. Mental illness, you will be surprised how many it affects and how many families are struggling to cope with the person in their life they're very close to. It can be treated in many ways. It might be that the person is receiving counselling, and for a long period of time, they're in many weeks, months, years of psychotherapy counselling. It could be that every week they are appearing to talk about their problems to the psychotherapist. And at the end of that hour, their time is up. They've shared everything, pulled everything out of the mental mind. They've added stories to everything that is real for them. And then the psychotherapist says, "Thank you very much, same time next week." And they go round again. One of the things with psychotherapy is that it makes you very, very aware of the problems. It makes you understand there is a problem. And the first step to solving the problems of mental illness is to be aware. I have seen many people that have had 10, 15, 20 years of psychotherapy sessions. And they're very aware. They know what's wrong. They know where it's come from. They know, and they've got everything in a story. It's wrapped up. They can tell you. The problem is they're lacking the connection to the feelings and emotions of that story, because the story has become their story. And when the story becomes their story, that builds neurons connecting, firing and wiring in the brain to create more of that story becoming real. It's a criminal crime of an experience to be suffering in this way. Because the person might say, "Yep, I know that. That was because something happened when I was 5 years old. That will be that abuse that I had when I was 2 years old. But that's no longer there. They might be 50 years old, and it's no longer relevant to their life. That they know it. The what I call I know it people that don't know how to handle it, don't know how to solve it. They know and very aware of the issues and challenges, but they haven't got the solution. They're not solution fed. They're I know it people. They're very aware of the issues in their life. That's the first stage to solving the problems, awareness. And psychotherapy route is about building awareness, storieizing everything that you need to get it out into your awareness, to bring it up from being buried in your subconscious and in your body, to bring it up into your awareness. Because when it's up and in your awareness, it can't hurt you in the same way physically and emotionally. What I find is that they so know their stories. They have a story for everything. Everything can be explained, justified, rationalized. And it's all up there in their conscious mind. They know it. But because there is no solution, the reason they buried it is because, yes, it's because it was too painful. It was too painful to be in their conscious awareness, so they buried it. They pushed it down because it was difficult. Psychotherapy brings it up because it's no good. It really hurts you physically, emotionally, when it's buried. It's right to bring it up. That's the first part of how I work with people, to bring into their awareness what they weren't looking at, what they didn't want to be aware of, what they suppressed. Now, when you go to see a psychiatrist, this is very different in mental illness. The psychiatrist is not really very interested in the story at all. They have little time for the challenges of what happened when you were 3 years old, or 5 years old, or 10 years old, or whatever years old. They treat mental health issues with chemicals, with drugs. Some of them are very, very powerful, and they affect the chemicals in the brain, and they bring stability in one area of the brain that is suppressed. But I know from personal experience within my own family that it's not easy to treat mental health issues with drugs, primarily because it's a guessing game. The psychotherapist has no idea how it's going to affect you. So they raise up one chemical, medication, and they lower another. And this can be going on for years and years and years. And it can, some of the drugs that they prescribe, create other symptoms. Yes, other symptoms. And then they will prescribe a drug, a medical drug, to combat that symptom. It doesn't sound like it's a great system. And yet, many people have managed their mental health issues in this way. It's not the answer for everyone. There is no right or wrong answer for everyone. There is trial and error. There is only looking at possible solutions. And this impacts the family, the siblings, the parents, the son, the daughters. This affects the relationships, because when someone suffers with mental health illness and issues, they can be absolutely brilliantly performing one moment and in one day, and then the next day or in the next hour, they can feel different. They can express differently. They can be angry. They can be losing interest, not bothered, not going to do things. I would say that those are good days and bad days. Or maybe the good days are the good days and the bad days are off days, when the person isn't being quite themselves. The concern I have, and I do have a concern, is that the person that is suffering in the family because they don't like being like they're being, and yet they don't have an answer. They don't have a solution. It's absolutely sad. It's completely debilitating to be the person that is suffering in this way. And more importantly, to the family that is having to cope with the person suffering in this way. There is no answers. There is only having a go at what's available right now. And when somebody has a mental illness, it could be related to a breakdown, a relationship breakdown, a family issue. It could be that something went wrong at work. They lost their job. It could be that they were very, very intelligent and doing really well, and suddenly something changed and they didn't cope. There is all sorts of reasons for mental illness. There is no right way to describe it. It can appear in ways that we wouldn't expect it to. and it can affect anyone. None of us are immune. And there is much more conversation, especially in our current times, about mental illness. Compassion is what the person has that is helping the person with mental health issues. That compassion is so deep, it's so powerful, because they're almost living the life of the person that's suffering in this way. They're in their up days, and they're in their down days, and they're in their in-between days. They're in their hospital appointments. They're in the times when things are difficult and challenging, and they're in the celebrations. May they be short, sweet, or long. Somebody suffering with mental health issues probably can hold down a job for years, and others are not able to work due to extraordinary and extreme stress and anxiety and depression, that they're not able to be one way all of the time. This is a debilitating set of circumstances for anyone in a family to be looking after. This can cause compassion fatigue because you are living their life. Alzheimer's and dementia. It is a fact that 12.7 million people aged 65 and older are projected to have Alzheimer's dementia by 2050. That is a huge amount of people. And maybe with our change times, that may project to be even higher. It is a fact that this is real in people's lives. People are suffering. And what happens, especially in our current and changed world, is that it is the responsibility of the siblings, of the person in the relationship with the person they're living with, that is suffering with Alzheimer's or dementia. It is not easy because, again, like mental health illness, there are good days, there are not so good days, and there are off days. There are days that you feel you can't cope anymore, and there are days that are challenging, and there are days that are rewarding. That the person that is suffering is also suffering in this space. We don't know how much they're comprehending what's going on. There's not enough research. But all we can do is to be kind, compassionate. And so what happens is the person that is caring for the person that is suffering with Alzheimer's, dementia, is the person that is left with carrying the can for everything. Because they may just walk out, not know where they are, in their dressing gown and slippers. Can you imagine living with someone that is suffering in this way? The stress and the toll it creates on you, your health, emotional, mental, and physical. It is what I would call a cross to bear. And this can lead to compassion fatigue. Because you love that person. You love them so much that you want to care for that person in every way that you possibly can. And at the same time, there is living your life too. So are you running on empty? Where did you fill up? When you have these kinds of issues to handle, where are you filling up? When your whole concern, when your whole being is for another. This very, very quickly moves you from feeling full and topped up to empty. This barometer is real for many people. But you know what they do? They carry on regardless, because they have to. There is no other way. They just get on with it. And they do the best they can to live their lives. Is this living or is this existing? If we are in our minds coping from a one day to the next day, from one moment to the next, not knowing what's going to happen because we love that person so deeply. They're a parent, a sibling, they're an intimate partner. They're the person we really care about. It's a friend, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a son, a daughter. They belong to someone, and there is someone taking care of them. This can move you from full to empty. And I want to liken this to a car. If you don't put fuel in your car and you don't top it up with oil and maintain your car by having regular maintenance checks, it stops running, it stops working. It's not rocket science. If you're not feeding it with the right ingredients, it just combusts. It starts smoking. It doesn't run. It goes in overdrive, and suddenly it stops. Well, we're a bit like that. If we don't fill up, that's what happens. And this is what compassion fatigue will feel like, that there's no space or room to fill up for yourself. I want to look at some signs of suffering from compassion fatigue. So if you are in a place of apathy or powerlessness, feeling powerless to solve the problem, that feeling of, I can't do anything else. What else can I do? I'm doing everything I can possibly do. The health system is not there in the same way to help the people that we love and care for in the way that we can. There isn't the resources in the same way as many, many years ago to care for people with mental health issues and Alzheimer's and dementia. It is a true fact that since we are now in the baby boom era, many baby boomers are now retired. Many baby boomers have reached their 60s and over. And so we now have a lot of people draining on the resource list of the NHS, the medical system. And the medical system doesn't know how to cope because there are so many people that are needing care in this way. And so then the reliance is on the families. And the family is powerless to be able to handle, control, or do anything about these types of illnesses. And it can lead to the person feeling totally apathetic, almost a sense of desensitized, getting on with it because they have to. This can bring in a level of anger or resentment about having to cope with these kinds of situations. And this can lead to conflict. The person that you're loving and caring for on the bad days or the off days or the not so good days can lead into situations of conflict. How do you handle this? You know, there is a saying, you always hurt the ones that you love, that you're closest to. And that conflict can come from the person that is suffering. It will move you into a place, because there is no other way, of an isolation, of feeling isolated from everyone, everything, physically, emotionally, and mentally. There are many things that you can do, but that isolation is real. That physical isolation of having to cope with this on your own is very real. It might even move you into a feeling of feeling very pessimistic, quite negative about your situation, life, the way that the cards have been dealt. It might even move into the way that you see things, that everything is a negative experience. Oh, woe is me. And that's not that it's wrong. That's just that you're handling more than you can really emotionally, mentally handle. Which moves you into a place of fatigue, compassion fatigue. It will lead you into an overspill of literally being on empty and still moving forward and helping the person in every way that you can, because you know that they can't cope. So you're there as much as you can be. And when you are on empty, you're still there. The mantra will be others first. It'll be everyone else instead of you first. And this will appear in a place of, if there is not one person that's in your life that's in these kind of difficulties, that this others first will be a self-esteem issue of your own, that you're putting others first instead of yourself, because it's much easier to focus on someone else first. And that drives a wedge between looking after yourself so that you can be even more to the other person as well as yourself. This doesn't paint a very good picture, and yet this is very real for the person that is suffering with compassion fatigue. It can cause sleep issues, not being able to sleep, being overly tired, or literally when you hit the pillow, falling asleep in a really deep knocked out sleep, but not really sleeping, in terms of when you wake up feeling tired. It's great to have some strategies to overcome this sleep deficit and the sleep apathy of not being able to sleep, almost being overly tired, too tired to sleep, because the mind is going. The mind is still running round and round and round. One of the suggestions that I have for you, if you have a really busy mind and it never switches off, is to have a notebook, a journal next to you. And if there is anything that comes up in your mind, is to write it down. Empty it out of your mind, write it down, so that you can empty it out. One more thing in the journal, in the notebook, that you can look at in the morning. It's very, very important to have your sleep, because if you're not sleeping, you are running on empty. There will be, if you are suffering with compassion fatigue, an emotional intensity about everything. The emotions will be in overdrive. You will be seeing things before they even happen, because you're aware, you're there, you're very consciously focused on what might happen, what could happen. And what that does is that creates an expression in you of an intensity of anxiety emotionally, that you're anxious about what may happen, might happen, could happen. And so you're always there prepared. It can, for some, impair your judgment, because you're so in that overdrive situation that you're looking at everything from the place of resolving, that you can be so deep in something. It's like when you're in the storm, when you're in the middle of the storm, you can't see what's external to it. And so it's very hard to focus. And so it can impair your judgment on what's good, what doesn't work, what could work. It can give you poor focus because a lack of sleep and a lack of nourishment, food-wise, nutrition-wise, can impair your focus. And for some, it can lead into a state of depression, a feeling of, I don't know what to do, that you escape into the mind and focus on the good times and wondering whether you're going to get those back. Intrusive thoughts, thoughts of not wanting to be here anymore, coping with the struggle of this compassion fatigue, doing your best and at the same time having all these thoughts, I just can't do this, I can't cope anymore, I need to get out, I need to move. But that relationship is so strong, it's so powerful, it's so intimate in many ways. A mother, a father, son, daughter, sibling, a brother, a sister, a spouse, a husband, a wife. We feel compelled to help in every way that we can, leaving ourselves uncared for because those thoughts are deeper. They're much, much deeper than where we can possibly go and leave them. Even though that feeling is, oh my gosh, I can't cope with this anymore. That feeling of not wanting to be there anymore moves you into a place of saying, I can't cope, wanting to leave the situation, and at the same time feeling compelled to stay in the situation because of the love, the compassion that you feel for the person you're taking care of. Let's look at some ways of overcoming compassion fatigue. Self-care is your number one. Is your number one in every aspect. If you don't fill up yourself, if you don't nourish yourself, water, with the right meals, if you don't nourish yourself with sleep, with some space, you're driving on empty. It's a bit like when you go on a flight and the safety measures are read out. And there's one safety measure that says if you're looking after someone that's older or younger than you, so you have a dependent that you're taking care of on the flight, please put your own gas mask on first and then attend to the person you are looking after. It's done in every announcement, every time there is a flight. Because if you look after the person first, there may not be enough energy for you to take care of you. And then where is the person that you were looking after? Gone. Without you. Your self-care is paramount. And self-care means sleeping, finding your space to sleep, nourishing yourself with good food, with nutritious food, so that you feed your system so it can cope. Making sure that you're drinking plenty of water. Making sure you're not topping up too much on the coffee. Coffee is good to keep your levels up in terms of your energy. It also creates peaks and troughs, and it can plummet your energy. It's far better to drink water. Nourishing yourself, nourishing what you need so that you can cope. Time out is really important. You're so consumed with the situation that you're in, looking after the other person. Time out is critical. If you don't take time out, you're always in it, and you're almost, for want of a better phrase, living the other person's experiences and suffering. You are in it 100%. So there is time that you have to take time out in whatever way is right for you. It could be that you go into the bathroom and have a real good pampering session. It could be that you have dinner or lunch with friends, that you get out into the outside world. However you do it, it's important to take that external time out away from that compassion experiencing that moves you into fatigue. Treat yourself. Even if it's something as silly as a cake, or a cinema trip, or lunch or dinner with friends, with other members of family that aren't suffering. It could be watching a movie. It could be listening to some music away from the situation that you are coping with. Treat yourself, because in that space you are honouring yourself. When you weren't in the situation, there were treats, birthday treats. If we have a pet, we treat the dog, the cat, because they've done something good. This is the same. Treating yourself compassionately. Self-compassion is absolutely key. Without self-compassion, how can you give compassion to the other person? How can you be selfless? It's impossible to give to others what you're not giving to yourself. It becomes a sense of duty, and it becomes encompassing. It becomes emotionally burdensome when you're not giving yourself self-compassion. And most importantly, and really this is so important, to seek professional support. To speak to the people that are caring for the person that you are looking after. The medical person, the psychotherapist, the doctor, the nurse, the person that's giving the medication. There will be that physical medical support. There is also support from a therapy space as well. It's important to talk, to express, to almost download, so that you can offload what's going on for you, because it's running around and you have to find a way. Your way is the right way. That the professional support is there for you. Meditation is an incredible tool to use so that you can move into a space of inner calm and inner peace. I was listening to a meditation last night, which was quite amazing. And the words were, I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. And just those words can move you from mind, control, thinking, that overload of mental thinking. It can move you into your heart so that you become and move into a place of compassion for yourself. That's where it starts. It starts with compassion for self. That meditation can calm down the mind. It calms down the mind and eases the stress, physical, mental, and emotional, and reconnects you back to the heart. It slows down the heart rate. It moves you into a place of being rather than thinking. When you are thinking and analysing, and your head is full of thoughts, this is where you can reach compassion fatigue. Meditation very simply calms the mind and moves you into a place of connecting back to your heart, and back to the emotions and sensories so that you feel calmer. This escape can be an oasis. Relaxation music is powerful. Have you ever watched a movie and it's all very relaxing, the music behind it, and at the end of it, you've either fallen asleep or you're feeling deeply relaxed or very romantically driven? Relaxation music affects the body. We have 7 major chakras, and those 7 chakras have tones, and they are responding to sound and music and words. Words have vibration. Music has vibration. And when you move into the heart vibration of your heart, of your inner heart, of the very, very being of your soul and your spirit, stress, compassion fatigue can literally have a reprieve. Put on some relaxation music and feel the difference. Allow yourself the relaxation of music. Cognitive behaviour therapy is much more of a toolkit. I practice cognitive behaviour therapy, and it's something that you will find in the medical world because they realise that they have to give tools and techniques. Cognitive behaviour therapy is exactly almost as it sounds. It takes you into a space of awareness of where you are, what's not working. And it gives you insights and awarenesses and tools for being able to manage things when you're not managing, when you're not coping. It allows you the space to step into awareness that you aren't coping and to fill up, to feed yourself. Cognitive behaviour therapy are simple, very simple insights, awarenesses, and tools. I have a massive toolkit of cognitive behaviour therapy, and it's mainly based, the first step is awareness. It's mainly based in being aware. When you become aware, that's at the point that you can change what you do and how you respond. It's powerful, it's simple, it's to the point, and it works. And if you want to know more about how a professional therapist can help you with cognitive behaviour therapy, reach out. There are many of us that can support you in this way. Breathe. I know this sounds really simple, but when we're stressed and we're anxious, we don't breathe. We breathe in our upper chest up here, and then we feed the mind. And when we breathe shallow and short here in the upper chest, we actually move more oxygen into the mind, and it becomes overdrive. And it makes any situation that we're experiencing, physical, emotional, mental, worse. It creates more anxiety, more stress. When we breathe down into the belly and into the body, the mind literally clears. It calms. Breathing in a diaphragmatic breathing so that you extend the belly, and then when you breathe out, breathing out slowly. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4. And breathe out to a count of 4. That will slow your breathing. You do 2 minutes of that, you will feel incredibly different, relaxed, rejuvenated. It's not going to solve the problems of everything that you are coping with. What it will do is calm your nervous system down, and it will help you cope better and make better decisions and better judgments and respond better. because you're then feeding your body with oxygen. Another extraordinary thing that we kind of forget about is to laugh. When we laugh into our lower belly. And laughing, when we're in our lower belly, that belly laugh that we have, children belly laugh, don't they? They just can't stop laughing. It's infectious. And when you laugh, the mind calms, clears. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody's laughed inappropriately because it's a response mechanism? They can't cope, so they laugh. And it's a coping mechanism when things are very difficult. I remember when I was in corporate and working where there was just no way that we could get everything done. We would laugh our way through it because it was a coping mechanism. That when you laugh, you calm down the mind from all the irrational thoughts and experiences that you are experiencing, from all the things, the expression of the urgency of everything, the judgments, the depression, the anxiety of it all. One of the fastest ways to laugh, I found, if you're not feeling in a laughing mood, is to switch on the TV and find a channel that has a comedy on. There are many old comedies that are appearing at the moment. And when you laugh at something very simple, some of the old-fashioned comedies, from the 60s and 70s, and even in the 80s, they're very old-fashioned, very simple comedy, because they're human experiences, and when we can see everything, we laugh. It will move you into a much calmer space and reduce the fatigue that you're experiencing. Laughter is a medicine. Laughter can be a cure for your fatigue. Laughter can raise your spirits. It can change your mood. Even though you're not feeling it at the time, it can change the way that you feel. It can lift your spirits, and it can take you into another space in terms of your experience. Laughter is almost the inner drug that we can use any time that we choose. I frequently have, because I have this as a mantra, laughter, humor, helps you feel different and changes your state. That in my social media feed on Facebook, there are many people that share jokes. I even have some Facebook suggestions of comical, humorous posts. And when I see them, that's really funny, and I laugh, and I save them. And I save them because I think I'm going to share that, and then I forget to share it. But because I have this as a strategy to laugh, humor, we've been living in some extraordinary times, and humor is one way that we can move and change our state to be able to cope, to be able to live in a much more harmonious way inside. There is a Buddhist mantra of compassion, and the Dalai Lama really, really subscribes to this. And the Dalai Lama, he says this mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. It transforms your impure body, speech, and mind into the pure body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. This is the mantra of compassion. It's pure. These words are Sanskrit words. It's a very old, old language. Before any religion, before it was assigned to anyone or anything. It's a very old language. This mantra, when repeated, Om Mani Padme Hum, can literally balance your chakras, calms your mind, puts you back into your body. It's extraordinary, it's powerful, and it can change your state of being from fatigue to absolutely pure compassion. The compassion of a Buddha who's pure of heart. Om Mani Padme Hum. The Dalai Lama endorses this mantra of compassion. Take care of yourself first. You can't pour from an empty cup. You just can't. You can't pour from an empty cup. I invite you to take care of yourself first. I know compassion fatigue is very real for many of us in our challenge times, in our world today. We have aging parents, siblings, sons, daughters, loved ones, partners, spouses that are suffering in ways unimaginable. It's heartbreaking. And we love them so much, we care about them in the ways that we do, which is completely pure compassion. It's important to fill your cup up first. I invite you to feed and nourish yourself so that you can be everything for yourself as well as everything you need to be for the person you are taking care of. Thank you for your attention and your interest. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is USA Global TV and Radio. You can find all of our Talking Heads episodes under Talking Heads and our current titles this year under Talking Heads 2023. You can find my name under Talking Heads. Please do reach out to me if I may be of service to you. You can contact me on nomorestress@line.co.uk. Tell me what the problem is when you email me. Let me know where you're from. I offer a free 30-minute Zoom, Skype consultation. Please reach out or call if you're international using the code +44. If you are local, 07523 120 189. I'm expertise. I have 22 years of helping people with these kinds of problems. I've been working with the chakra system since 2000, and it would be my gift to help you move through some of your stress. Thank you. Namaste.